Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Extraescolares English first certificate. I know you missed me, which is why we're doing virtual classes from my home. And what we're going to do this week, we're going to start with reading, use of English, part 1, use of English and reading. Now, before, we always thought of 4 types of language skills: reading, writing, listening, speaking. The biggest difference with the first certificate is now they talk about use of English, which is just another way to say a more complex way of reading. Let's begin. So today, part 1, we're looking at test 2. It's in your email. You have it in your email as an attached file. There's 2 components in your email. One component is the actual exam questions, okay? And the other component, attached file, is the exam answers. Now, when you're doing these activities with me, each week I'm going to be sending you a different part of the first certificate with the questions and the answers just for that part so we don't get too confused. Let's begin. So today we have, we're going to go right to our training. Okay, before we go into the training, today we're going to be looking at this part 1 of use of English. And the biggest thing to understand about this part of the first certificate is that it's multiple choice. There's 8 gaps. Gaps are those spaces, gaps. And there are 4 options for each gap. So we have 8 questions, you can say 8 gaps, and for each gap there's 4 options. So let's go into the training. We're going to read together. We're all on this page. We're all on this page right here. Follow along. So, reading and use of English, part 1. Here it says, circle the correct word or phrase in each sentence. Now, what we're doing with this training is we're going to practice the use of phrases and collocations. You say, Joseph, well, how do I know, how do I study, how do I improve phrases and collocations? Practice, practice, practice. It's just like those push-ups. It's just like those pull-ups. We have to keep practicing and learning other things after this first part, this first training, this warm-up. We're going to look at things like prepositions and meanings of words and context. So first, what we're going to do now with this first activity is phrases and collocations. Follow along. It says, number 1, circle the word or phrase in each sentence. So the example is, we need, enough money for the new project. We need to raise enough money for the new project. 2 options, raise, the other option is rise. We need to raise, the infinitive form. So let's go with number 1. Let's do number 1 together, and then I'll give you time to do the activity yourself. Number 1. I thought the test would be easier, but I quickly realized that in fact it wasn't. Now, before we give the answer, we have to know that there are several things that we have to consider. If we use the word but in a sentence, this is like the equal sign, okay? And then and is another one. And. Other words like but, however, notwithstanding, but we're comparing 2 things. We're comparing a negative and a positive. And we're going to be comparing either 2 negatives or 2 positives. Whenever we have the word but, whenever we have the word but in a sentence, we always know that whatever comes after that is going to be opposite of what came before it. So we have this idea, but and and. And is connecting two things that are the same, either both negative or both positive. And but is connecting two things that are completely different. So applying this example that we just gave, let's try to answer the question. I thought the test would be easier, but I quickly realized that in fact it wasn't. I thought it was easy. In fact, it wasn't. So we see an example of how but acts in these sentences. The answer to number 1 is at first. At first I thought it would be easier, because from I thought it would be easier just doesn't make any sense. And you say, Joseph, great, that's easy for you to say because you're a native. Well, yes and no. We have to start thinking. We have to start feeling. We have to start using our instinct, our language knowledge, of these phrases and collocations of how to choose the best word for the option, for the space, by what feels right. And that's what we're going to see with the exam practice. So stop the YouTube video right now and do the activity training number 1, phrasing collocations. Okay, now that we're back, you just did the activity. We're going to start with the next thing, which is meanings of words in context. Okay, so let's begin. It says, number 2, complete the sentences below with a suitable word from the box. Use the correct form of the word. Use each word once. So here we go. We have the first sentence. George's mom has, a lot of flowers in the garden of their new house. Now, what do you think? There's 4 options. George mom has settle. George mom has establish. George mom has plant. George's mom has uncover. Now remember, you're going to have to conjugate the word in this space. Number 2, while the archaeologists were digging in the ruins, they a wonderful mosaic. Once again, go through the same process. Always use the space and repeat it in your mind. They settle, they establish, they plant, they uncover, and do that for all 4. Once you finish the activity, go to the answer sheet and check your answers. Remember, you're going to have to conjugate these. They're not going to be just the root form that you see in the options. Let's move on. Once again, remember, you have 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 16, and each of these, you have 1 word for each space. They divided it up for you to make it easier. This is training. We're using training to find the meanings of words in context. Okay, ready? Let's begin. Let's move on to number 3. You just finished activity 1. You checked your answers. You finished activity 2. You checked your answers. Now we're still in training, and what we're doing now is we're looking at prepositions. Let's read together. Prepositions can also occur before certain phrases. Look at the phrases below. Which of the prepositions in the box goes with each phrase? Sometimes more than one is possible. More than one preposition is possible with the same word or phrase. Now, listen everyone, what we're going to have to do with these activities, I'll just tell you right now, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make flashcards at home, okay? Once you do this activity, you're going to do this activity right now, activity number 3. You're going to stop at activity number 3. You're going to check your answers, okay, with the answers over here. And what you're going to do is, after you give it your best chance, you try to do it you're on your own, alone. And after you're done doing it alone, you're going to make flashcards. Now watch. I'm going to give you some answers just with these flashcards. But in order for us to learn these prepositions, in order for us to get the meanings of words in context, and in order for us to understand phrases and collocations, We have to dominate prepositions. This isn't maybe, Joseph, I'll study. This isn't maybe I can get by. You can't get by. You have to make these flashcards for prepositions. I'll show you how to do them. Watch. You take a piece of paper around the house. It doesn't have to be this paper. It could be any paper, old paper. It's helpful if you can't see through it so that it helps for you to study. If you have any old construction paper or just white paper, recycled paper around the house, use that. Ready? On one side, you're going to put the preposition. In this case, it's on. And on the other side, you're going to write down all of those words or phrases that go with that preposition. So for example, imagine that you're me and we see this word on. I'm going to look at this word on, and in my mind, I'm going to study, okay, these are going to come to my mind. So I see the word on and I say, on my own, on purpose, on time. And until you get all three of these options, you can't stop studying them. The other option is also to create one flashcard for each word, but I thought this is plenty good. Then do the same thing for in a hurry, in order, in time, in control, and you keep studying them with your brother, sister, on your own, with your mother, with your father, until you know all the prepositions for this part, as well as all the words that go with it. Once you study those, then you go to number 4. Until you make these flashcards, don't do number 4. It's a waste of your time. You can't possibly have studied it. You don't know how to apply those prepositions yet. Make flashcards. Number 3, once you finish number 3, stop, make the flashcards. Then once you study them during the week, go on to activity number 4 and do that and complete it. Okay, now we're going to move on to exam practice. Test 2, Part 1, Use of English, Reading. Exam practice. Once again, we said there's multiple choice. We have 8 gaps, and we have 4 options for each gap. Our first step when we're doing this is we're going to cross out the options you know are incorrect. Cross them out. That's the first step. If you can cross out 2 options, that means you only have 2 options left. This is what we have to start doing to improve. Do the work. Follow the steps. Even if you think, no, Joseph, I'm too advanced. I don't need to do that. It's a waste of my time. Do it. It's going to help you. And I will finish this video, this virtual class first certificate session, by reading the instructions with you, and then you'll begin. For questions 1 to 8, read the text below and decide the answer, A, B, C, or D, which best fits each gap. This is an example of, there's an example at the beginning. So let's read the example. Are you the kind of person who'd happily, to go and live on Mars? Which in this case, the answer is C. Are you the kind of person who would happily volunteer to go and live on Mars? In fact, plans were recently revealed to, a human base on Mars in 2023. And when an opportunity came up to go and help build it, over 200 people, their names down. However, money still needs to be raised to fund the project. A cool 3.8 billion pounds. So, what would the job, for astronauts? To begin with, they'd need to have, intensive training during the months, up to departure. In addition, they need to learn how to live in close, with other crew members, both during 8-month journey and on the surface of Mars. There'd be very few facilities, such as showers, not to, a diet of freeze-dried and canned food. Okay, everyone, good luck. Complete the exam practice. Feel free to write me emails. I can respond to you via email. Good luck. Remember,